I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price and address the Putin price hike. In fact, we've already made progress since March inflation data was collected. Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide in half a world away. About being made in America. A lot of that has to do with this industry.
This is my second video update for today, and I just want to do a quick update. The first story I want to get to is we now have confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense that 1,026, 1,056 Ukraine Marines have indeed surrendered in Mariupol. This is significant because it is the single largest amount of Marines that have surrendered, or Ukraine military that have surrendered in a day. And it's big news, but more importantly, we have the confirmation now coming from the Ministry of Defense, so it's reliable. It's a big development, really big development. You saw the opening segment with Biden that I had in this video playing, where Joe Biden was giving a speech. I believe it was in was it Idaho or Iowa, if I remember correctly? I forgot. Anyway, he was giving a speech, a scripted speech, and he's practicing the Putin Price Hike marketing line that they're now trying to fool the American public with. In other words, the inflation, the gas shortages, the energy price increases, the food shortages, all of these things, all of this bad stuff that's happening in the economy is all going to be blamed on Putin. And they've got this nice little slogan. It kind of rhymes, doesn't it? Putin price hikes. Say that quickly 5 times. Putin price hikes, Putin price hikes, Putin price hikes. They have interesting script writers in DC and in Hollywood helping out the Biden White House, don't they? Yeah, so Biden was practicing the Putin price hikes marketing trick, the lie. It wasn't the sanctions that were placed on Russia by the US and the EU. That didn't lead to the increase in prices and to the energy and gas crisis that everyone is now having to deal with. It wasn't that decision. It was Putin's fault. Putin's fault. Anyway, so that was Biden's speech that he gave, and it's quite a speech, isn't it? Biden trying to blame everything on Putin for the fact that the US and the EU really miscalculated in a big way, and they're losing this economic war of attrition in a big way. And so I guess we're looking at plan B or plan Z, if you can say plan Z, which is just blame Russia. That's the easiest thing to do, and it seems to work. It seems to work with a good portion of the population. So why not? So yeah, you have that story with Biden, and what else do you have? Oh yeah, you have. I'm gonna need to sit down for this. You have the U.S., the Pentagon, or the Biden White House, the U.S., the Pentagon. They're outlining new military aid for Ukraine. And let me sit down right across here. I'll sit down right here so I can read this, because they've outlined that they've got a plan now to send more military aid to Ukraine, and this time it's going to include heavy artillery. So the Pentagon is going to be digging into their own stocks, their own stockpile of weapons, and they're looking to mobilize $750 million worth of weapons to send to Ukraine. This is according to anonymous officials in Washington, those anonymous officials. All of this is on top of the $1.7 billion worth of weapons they've already sent. They're going to send another $750 million But this is going to include the heavy stuff, the big stuff. And this won't need congressional approval. So it's not going to need any authorization from Congress. It would be done under a presidential drawdown authority, which is otherwise known as a PDA, which authorizes the transfer from current U.S. military stocks in response to an emergency. So this would put the total amount of U.S. military aid to Ukraine at over $2.4 billion since Russia started its special military operation on February 24th. So now they're going to be sending not only Javelin and Stinger anti-air systems, but now they're going to be sending heavy artillery and other systems worth $750 million. And the military-industrial complex companies are super excited about this. I think they're going to actually have to sit down with Congress or sit down with the Biden White House and decide what they're going to send over to Ukraine. And all of this is coming from the stockpile of weapons that the U.S. already has in their inventory. So Biden is not only drawing down the gas reserves, he's going to draw down the weapons reserves. But all this is good for the MIC. Now, there are a lot of people that say, okay, the MIC is not really doesn't really make that much money from all of this in the short term. It's going to take years and years for them to realize the profits of all of this. Yeah, I agree. I think that for the military-industrial complex, sending weapons to Ukraine doesn't really mean anything to them short-term profit-wise. But that's not the point. The point is this. And a lot of people also say these weapons can't be used by Ukraine anyway, so what's the reason for it? I mean, Ukraine military has to train with these weapons. A lot of these weapons are new to them. They're going to be training in the U.S. as well. They're going to train a lot of the Ukraine military on these weapons. But by the time they do all of this, the war could be effectively over. If Ukraine even exists by the time all the military guys are trained for these new weapons and then sent back to Ukraine to use them. But the point of all of this is this for the military-industrial complex. It's not that they're going to get a short-term profit from this. It's not like, they give the weapons over to Ukraine and then all of a sudden, the next day, they have new weapons and they sell these new weapons and they make money. The point of all of this is the stock price. Just given the fact that the military-industrial complex is going to begin to sign big contracts with the government to create new weapons, to manufacture new weapons, to refill the inventory, to research, and this is where they make their big money, to research new weapon systems. That's where they make their big profits. In other words, getting the grants and the money from the U.S. government to do all of this R&D. Just the fact that the military-industrial complex is going to be doing this in the short term is going to send their stock prices higher, in my opinion. And how does that benefit Ukraine? It doesn't. How does that benefit the politicians? Well, if you just look at Nancy Pelosi and all the money she's made from trading stocks, you get to understand why the Biden White House and all of the politicians, even in the EU and the US, are so eager to get rid of the old weapons, to dump them, and then to get the MIC companies creating new weapon systems and doing new weapons R&D. Not because it's going to mean a short-term profit. In 10 years, yeah, it may mean, it'll definitely mean profits for them once all of this stuff is realized, once the R&D is realized. But in the short term, if you go quarter by quarter, it means that all the stock that the politicians are sitting on right now, the Raytheon, the Lockheed Martin, all of this stock that they have is going to start to go up, in my opinion. It may not, but I think that they're going to look to make some quick money, all the politicians, with these deals that they're making with the MIC. So that's the reason for all of this. That's how this really affects the politicians. That's why they're doing this. Not because it's going to make a difference in the war, not because These weapons are going to really be used by the Ukraine military, not because Raytheon's going to make money next month or in the next 2-3 months. They won't make money for another 5 or 10 years on these new weapon systems and the R&D, but in the short term, they're going to get a nice bump in the stock price. At least that's what I think is going to happen. So that's the Pentagon's plan to send heavy artillery to Ukraine, and they're going to basically dump all the old U.S. weapons systems and all the old U.S. weapon heavy artillery. They're going to dump it in Ukraine and be done with it. And then they're going to start to do new things. Get that stock price pumping. Let's get Nancy Pelosi to the billionaire status. Let's make her a billionaire. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got for this video update. I will leave it there. We had some news that Putin in his press conference was also saying that the negotiations are at a deadlock and they're essentially dead. I don't think that's a big surprise, given Borrell's statements and everything else that's coming out of Kiev. I don't think it's a shock for Putin to say in the press conference that, you know, everything is done and over as far as negotiations are concerned. And let me just check and see. Let me just do a quick check as I'm walking now and see if there's anything else I want to relay out to everyone. It's really interesting when you hear Putin speak now. He talks about Ukraine, but he's talking a lot about Donbass, and he's definitely creating separations in Ukraine already. In his speeches, in his mind, he's already creating those separations. So I could definitely see a new federation entering Russia. In this federation could be something like Crimea, Kherson, and the south of Ukraine, all the way up to Donbass. And that could be like a whole new Russian federation that's going to enter. A whole new federation that's going to enter the Russian Federation. I can definitely see that. I think that's everything. That's all I got for this update. We'll leave it there, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. Take care.